Nothing stands in our way. One step ahead, one step behind it. Now you gotta run to get even. Make future plans, I'm dreaming about yesterday. Hey, come on, turn this thing around right now. Hey, so tomorrow, right now, come on, it's everything right now. Get your magic moment, do it right here and now. It means everything. You miss a beat, you lose a rhythm, and nothing falls into place. Now, only missed by a fraction.
Good afternoon, football fans. Welcome to the 2008 NFL Draft. With the fourth pick in the 2008 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Darren McFadden, running back, Arkansas.
And what's interesting is you come in with all your questions in this, and Matt Ryan, if he doesn't go, we're going to trade, and Darren McFadden, if he doesn't go, we're going to trade. Sometimes you sit there, you play your hand, Ryan 3, McFadden 4.
Well, I'm sure, boom, the defensive players on the board were tempting, but keep in mind, they spent a lot of money on the defensive side of the ball, trading for Dimensional Hall, re-signing Tommy Kelly. You look at Darren McFadden's versatility, and we're talking about at Arkansas, what he meant to that wild hog offense, playing quarterback, doing a lot of things with Felix Jones. You look at that speed, runs a 4.340 at 6'1 1/4, and a rock-solid 215 pounds, an explosive kid. Talk about going 40 yards in the blink of an eye. Just give him a crack in the line, he can do it. So I think when you look at a kid like Darren McFadden, can he catch the football? Yes, here he's running out of the quarterback position in that wild hog package at Arkansas. Catches the ball, he'll block for you. The thing that I really like, the LSU game the last 2 years against that vaunted LSU defense, that talent-laden LSU defense, 388 yards the last 2 years. That's a 7.3-yard average, 5 touchdowns. I talk about a kid who did it against the best in college football in the SEC. He did it. And I think the word game breaker, the word explosive, and I think you put Justin Fargas, you got Michael Bush coming off the injury, now a loaded running back position to help out Jamarcus Russell.
Look, 4,500 yards, almost 6 yards a carry, 41 touchdowns. Hello. He's a Raider. Sequestered in the corner here at Radio City Music Hall are Mike Tirico, along with Kirk Herbstreit and Ron Jaworski. Fellas, McFadden, as we suggested yesterday, the best evaluator in the NFL told me, Mike, the stuff surrounding McFadden is just stuff. Don't worry about it.
And some of that stuff is, we reported about 45 minutes ago, a couple of brothers who were in gangs, a couple of other brothers of the 12 children in bar fights. McFadden got in to help out the mom, a recovering crack addict, clean, she says, for 6 years. Still going to be a big part of the scene. You may have heard those details before. The football player and the person, you think in Oakland a good fit?
Well, I don't know if it's a good fit. Jaws could tell us that, but I know what kind of kid he is, and he's an outstanding football player. Think about playing in the SEC. By far, the greatest defenses in college football every year. The fastest defenses are in the SEC. 3 years, over 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns in that conference, plus his versatility. If the league enjoyed Adrian Peterson this year, wait till they get a look at this young man. If he has this, Jaws, if he has the supporting cast around him, you tell me, does he fit in and does he have some things to work with there?
Yes, Kirk, the happiest man right now in Oakland is Jamarcus Russell. Because a quarterback, particularly a young quarterback in that embryonic development stage, as is Jamarcus Russell, when he can do this, when he can reach that hand out there and make that play fake, oh, I'll tell you, it makes the pass game that much better. I just have one concern about Darren McFadden. His agility going sideways, that mobile lateral movement, he just doesn't show that. Speed, but not that agility.
With the 22nd pick in the 2008 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Felix Jones, running back, Arkansas.
Told you, just too neat. Kirk, it's just too neat. Jones, Arkansas, picking Jones, Arkansas, Kirk.
Boom, you've been talking about that for the last couple of days, how that'd be a great fit. What a home run hitter. This guy took a back seat all year, of course, to Darren McFadden. He's electrifying in the backfield. I think he has the ability to help out as well on special teams. I think people are going to be surprised to see. Jaws and I were just talking. I think people will see a lot of Marion Barber, similar size, similar determination. Also, when he gets into the open field, not only does he make people miss, he runs right by them. So I think a bit of an unknown because of all the hype with Darren McFadden, but without any mistake, he can help you in every situation because of his ability to catch the ball in the backfield, and he'll surprise you with his ability to run between the tackles.
I agree with you, Kirby, about Felix Jones. We've had him to Dallas for the last 3 months, basically. You see his kick return ability here. A freshman All-American in that area, averaged 31.9 yards per return. You do the math. That assists field position in the NFL with Tony Romo, big time. Talk about Jerry Jones, connection with Arkansas. You talk about the tandem with Darren McFadden. Now he's with Marion Barber, a pounder. And you look at a guy like Felix Jones, averaged over 9 yards a carry this season, averaged 7.6 yards a carry as a junior, as a sophomore. That led the SEC board, and you know this kid very well.
Well, all I can do is I had this discussion with Jerry Jones at the Senior Bowl, and he thought Felix Jones with Marion Barber would be a near-perfect tandem and the kick returner.
The only guy in the history of football, college football, Mr. Outside, Glenn Davis, with Army in the war years, averaged more per carry than Felix Jones.
It's a pretty good 1-2 punch for them. You lose Julius Jones, you pick up another Jones. Not only that, he can return kicks. They lose Tyson Thompson through free agency. Now, this guy can return kicks, so they get 2 things for the price of 1.
Can you imagine if they have Felix Jones returning kicks, and if for some reason Pac-Man Jones is on their
got
team,
to that yet.
that's a punt returner. So,
And they can always pick up a wide receiver.
Pushing the envelope. They're pushing.
Shift a little on your pace. The more things you get, the more you want. Just trading one for the other. Working so hard to make it easy. Wow, got to turn. Come on, turn this thing around right now. Hey, it's your tomorrow.
from Hoover.
Me and my family, I was able to get out in the recruiting trail and travel around at all our Razorback functions. And I can't tell you how impressed I am with the pride and the passion of the entire state for Razorback football. And I'm really, really looking forward to experiencing that as we go through this football season. I'm looking forward to the challenges of coaching in the SEC conference. I know the players and the coaches are the best in the country. And the fact that if you get to the championship game and you're competing for the SEC championship, then you have a chance to compete for the national championship. And that is certainly what all of us goals are. As far as our football team goes, the strength of our team starting out would be our offensive line and our defensive line. That's where we have the most experience back. That's where we have the size and athletic ability and the skill of those young men to play their position. They did a nice job in spring ball, and they did a real nice job throughout the summer on working in the weight room and in conditioning. I like our tight ends. We have 2 tight ends that can really run and catch the ball and also do a very good job of blocking. So we're going to have to play to the strength of those 2 guys also. Casey Dick came out of spring ball as our starting quarterback. He did a nice job of learning and working hard on understanding the offense. I thought he did a real nice job of getting to know the other side of the ball and understanding what defenses are trying to do, the difference in coverages, the difference in zone blitzes and man blitzes, and really performed well in our last 2 scrimmages and spring game. He's a guy that has experience, has won games at the end of the game, playing the position, and I have a lot of confidence in him. And he has a lot of confidence in himself coming out of spring ball, which is a great thing. We're going to be very inexperienced, as you know, at the running back spot. We had 2 guys that were #1 draft picks, so we definitely will have some new faces in there. Michael Smith's a young man that had a very good spring. He's a smaller running back that's very quick and has a great burst. Can do a lot of things with him. You know, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run routes as a receiver. So we're going to have to try to figure out ways to utilize his strengths and get him the ball in the open field. One of the things I liked a lot about him in spring was his toughness. He showed that he can run between the tackles and that he's not afraid to run between the tackles, and that's a real good thing. We'll be inexperienced at the receiver spot coming out of spring ball. London Crawford and Carlton Salters were our leading receivers. London's a guy that's big and very physical, is fast, and is working real hard at getting better at running his routes and being consistent in catching the football. And Carlton's a young man that really understands the game, has great hands, can catch the ball in traffic, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. In both of those positions, we'll have to have help from freshmen. We'll have to be lining up a few true freshmen there and letting them play, and they'll have to get better as the year goes on. Our linebacker core, as you're well aware, is thin. We don't have a lot of depth there. We're going to have to be able to grow the freshmen and get better each week, and we do have some great leadership there. Elston Forte, who's with us today, is the leader of the defense and is a young man that understands the game, can play both outside linebacker positions and rush the passer. So we'll be counting on him to really make the calls, settle everything down, and make sure we're executing on the front 7 very well. In the secondary, we're very inexperienced. We, as you know, graduated 4 guys that started last year. So we are going to be inexperienced, but I like our talent. I think we have 4 or 5 corners that can definitely contribute and play, and 4 safeties that competed very hard in the spring. And then we'll have 1 coming off of injury that I'm looking forward to. So to that, I'll just open it up for questions.
Okay, please raise your hands for questions, and we'll get a microphone to you. We'll start back here on the aisle.
Yeah, you were part of a rivalry with the University of Kentucky while you were at Louisville. Could you just talk about the opportunity to, renew that rivalry with Coach Brooks and going up against Kentucky?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. We've always had a tremendous amount of respect for Kentucky and Coach Brooks and his program. It's a little different now for us because we used to work on that game the entire winter and summer. So that'll be a little bit different as far as the approach goes. But I am looking forward to going back to Lexington and playing there. It's always fun playing in front of a hostile crowd in a hostile environment. And I'm sure it'll be that way again this year. And I'm sure it'll end up being a good rival for us.
Straight ahead, under the light.
Under the light.
Coach, just wondering, did you feel somewhat hoodwinked by the Falcons after you expressed an interest to them in returning to college football?
I didn't get the word that you used there.
Hoodwinked.
Hoodwinked.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. The whole situation, the timing was bad. There's no question about that. And if it could have played out any other way, I would have loved to have seen it play out a different way. But with the Falcons and with Arkansas, it was really the only way that it could play out. And I'm extremely happy to be the head football coach at the University of Arkansas.
If I could just follow, was that as trying of a coaching situation as you've had to take on while you were in Atlanta?
Yeah, it was. It was certainly a trying situation, and everybody there worked as hard as they could to do the best job they could.
To your left, first row.
Right here.
Has it been difficult to implement your offense in a program that was run-oriented for a long time?
No, it hasn't been difficult. It's been a learning experience. You know, starting with our offensive line, they're a group that is very used to coming off the ball and run blocking and does an excellent job of that. So the newness, I guess you would say, to the techniques of pass protection and the different types of pass protection is something that they've worked extremely hard at. I think after the second week of spring ball, I was very impressed with the group. You know, Jonathan Lewigs is a guy that adds a tremendous amount of leadership to that group. And he's a young man that is very energized by learning the new techniques, the new fundamentals, the new schemes that he knows will carry on to his days playing at the next level.
Straight in front of me, third row.
Coach Petrino, Nick Saban and Steve Spurrier and now yourself went to the NFL and came back. Was coming back, what was it that brought you back to college football? Was it you didn't like the NFL or you really liked college football? What about the college game brought you back?
Well, obviously there was a number of things that played into it, but I love college football. I was asked earlier about, you know, what is it that you like about college football? And really the answer is I like everything. You know, I like the different seasons. I like the fact that you have your season and you go to the bowl game. I like the fact that you have a little period in there where it's all recruiting and you're on the road, you're in houses, you're going to try to convince young men to come to your school. I like the fact that there's a season where it's basically booster season where you're out on the road with the boosters, with the fans, trying to raise money. And there's a period of spring ball where you get back into it. And then the period we're just coming off of is a period where you have the summer camps, where at times you're working with young kids, and then the high school athletes. So it's a good fit for me. And certainly I like the fact that there's a great feeling about bringing in a young man that's 17, 18 years old onto your campus, watching him grow and develop, you know, in all aspects, academically, socially, as an athlete. And hopefully you've done a lot to help him handle life and contribute to society when he's done playing.
Up the aisle right here.
Right there.
Hey, Bobby, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, the media picked Arkansas to finish 6th in the West. Just wondering if you had any take on that.
Well, I've always felt like the preseason rankings are based off of how you finished the previous year and then what you have coming back. You know, what returning starters, what returning stars you have come back. And obviously when you lose that many guys into the NFL, you know, there was 8 young men from the University of Arkansas at the Combine. Lost our entire secondary and the great running backs. So it wasn't unexpected. It certainly will help to motivate us and you know, but it's not gonna help us win or help us lose any games. And each week, the greatest thing about this conference, what's shown, is each week you have to line up and play, and everybody's capable of beating anybody.
Coach, you've mentioned Casey. Tell us about some of your other quarterbacks. Do you see playing more than one this season?
At this particular time, I would anticipate Casey being the starter and not really having a rotation, but that's always subject to change once we get into practice and see where everybody's at. His younger brother, Nathan, came out of spring ball as second. He's bigger than Casey. He's a guy that likes to run around and has a real knack for understanding where the rush is coming from. He might be like a young man I coached at Louisville that you don't really know how good he is until it's live, because you don't tackle the quarterback in practice, and you know, he might make more plays when it's live because of his ability to run and move around and throw the ball down the field after that. Alex Mortensen did a real nice job competing with those guys in spring, came out of spring number 3. Alex is a young man that really knows football, understands exactly what we want to do, executing our offense, wants to be a football coach, so he's in the office all the time working on that. We have true freshmen coming in that we need to look at right away and get a good idea of. Tyler Wilson and Jim Youngblood. Both of them a little bit different. Tyler was more of your spread offense, shotgun, get the ball out of his hand quick, very accurate passer. And Jim was a guy that ran around and made a lot of plays and really sees himself as a tough, hard-nosed, running quarterback that can throw the ball down the field.
Have another question, same spot.
Coach, was there anything else that didn't come out or wasn't publicized that much from your time in Atlanta that would better tell your side of the story?
Well, no, I don't think that we need to get into that. Like I said, it was a difficult situation. It's something that I've put behind me, that the Falcons have. I wish them, their entire organization, and their fans the best of luck. But it's really time for us to focus in on this season, University of Arkansas football, and the players that we have. Yes.
Yeah, Bobby. When you made the decision to go to the Falcons, was it one of those things based on the fact that you felt like what would it be like just to coach football and not deal with recruiting and going to speak at booster clubs and players' academics? I mean, was it something you want to try for, like purely a football job? And what did you learn about yourself last year?
Well, it didn't have anything to do with not wanting to recruit, because that's something I've always enjoyed, or anything to do with the boosters, because that's something I've always enjoyed too. I think at that particular time you looked at, one of the great challenges, and they had a quarterback at that time that I thought could be real special. So that played a lot into it too. But it was a difficult season. You always look back and really try to reflect on what I could have done better here, what we could have done better here, and certainly we'll try to do a better job in our communication with our players, and really understanding what it takes week in and week out to be consistent.
In the middle, all the way back.
Hi, Coach. With the uncertainty at linebacker you had coming out of the spring, and uncertainty with Wendell Davis, guys that are coming back, are you anticipating a scheme change up front and using more of your secondary like a 4-2-5, or are you going 4-3? Do you know where you're at there?
No, we're really not anticipating that. The good thing for us as coaches is in spring ball we didn't see Wendell. He was injured. He had injured his knee. We came out of spring with Jerry Franklin, Elston Forte, and Ryan Powers as our starters. All three of those guys are back. I think all three of them grew up and played well. They're fast. They can run around. They're very athletic. There's a lot of newness in not only, the positions that they're playing, but the scheme. We're not playing a lot of just man coverage and man-free coverage like they had played in previously, so their responsibilities have changed. But, because of the league and because of the spread offense, there's going to be a number of times when you're playing nickel and your nickel package really fits into and dime package to some of the spread teams that we'll face too.
Coach, Steve Cragthorpe has said at Louisville that he felt like he inherited a lot of disciplinary issues, and there's certainly been an insinuation that discipline's being handled more strictly there now. I wonder if you're aware of some of those comments and how they strike you.
Well, I saw some of those comments, and we didn't have a discipline problem when I was there. Knock on wood, you always knock on wood on that, but we had players that were real focused, did a great job. We went 41-9, and I think they returned 21 starters off of that Orange Bowl team. So, I felt good about the way we left the program and the shape that we left the University of Louisville in.
Third row.
Coach, I was just wanting to get your opinion on BCS system. Do you think there should be any sort of +1 if you're satisfied with the way it is? And also, I saw you were opposed to an early signing period. I just want to get your reasoning behind that.
Well, I'll answer the second one first. I was opposed to the early signing period. I think where we're located geographically and the number of high school recruits in our state, that it's not beneficial for us to have early signing periods and guys go and don't have to go as far away to recruit as we do. So I think that it's beneficial for us, for young men, to go through the entire process and take their visits, and we need to get them on campus. We feel like if we can get a young man on our campus with our facilities, get in the city, see the town, see the people, get on the campus and see our faculty and everything that we have to offer, we have as good a chance of getting them as anybody. So that was my reasoning there. Tell me the first question again. Oh, the BCS system, the +1. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about the +1, and it was intriguing. But one thing that you do, and I've always felt like you do, is the rules have been set. There is no +1, and there's no reason complaining about it.
Another in the same area?
Yes.
Coach Petrino, with the negative publicity you've gotten leaving the NFL, how much does that come up in discussions and conversations with recruits? Has loyalty been an issue when you're trying to go out recruiting?
Well, we feel great about our recruiting class. I feel like we went out and got the best players in the state of Arkansas to stay at home and come to the University of Arkansas, and got some real special talent there. We're going to count on them right away to play. We were also able to go out and hit some of the needs that we needed at other positions outside of the state, and finished very strong, in the recruiting process. It always came up in the home. There's no question about that. But I think when you sat down and visited with parents and probably told parents more than I've told any of you guys that, the recruiting went well and it became a non-issue.
Right behind him.
Hey, Coach, I was wondering, where does coming to media days and getting these questions and meeting all us great reporters rank in the list of things that you have to do?
Oh, right at the top. It's my most favorite thing. No, this is part of the job. I understand that, and I respect your job and what you all have to do, and asking the tough questions, and I have no problem with that, none at all. But the best thing about media days is that it means that the season's just about to start, and we get to start practice on August 4th and really find out a lot about our team.
First row in the middle.
Bobby, how patient a person are you, and how much do you think that patience might be tested this season? Because you're trying to rebuild, there's no question.
Well, I would think if you asked my family, they would say I'm really, really patient. But that obviously isn't true. I'm not real patient. I like things done, right away. I think you can go fast. I think you can move and get better in a hurry. But I do understand that it's a process. I think I do understand that in the game of football and building and changing a program, that it is a process. And that's what we're working really hard at. We have to do a great job of practicing. We've got to do a great job of getting better at our positions, at our technique and our fundamentals. We have to be patient with our schemes and making sure that we don't ask our players to do too much and then maybe be able to add to them as the year goes on. But winning games is the end of doing things right. And so what we need to do is do everything right leading up to that opener. And we're going to have to, as a young football team, get better each week. We got to get better from game 1 to game 2. And we've got to be a lot better off in game 5 and 6, and hopefully have a lot more contribution from our young freshmen in those games and feel like they're not freshmen anymore. So we do have a lot ahead of us and a great challenge. I'm looking forward to it.
Coach, have you heard from your players or got any sense from them just how special this Ole Miss game is going to be this year for them?
No, we have not even talked about it. I've heard a lot at booster functions and a lot from the fans on their desire for it, but that's a long way for us. We have to play Western Illinois in the opener. We've got to get better as a football team. I do think that our players understand that, it's not us playing Coach Nutt. It is our players playing against their players. University of Arkansas playing Ole Miss, which has always been a great rivalry.
With the lucrative contracts that SEC coaches make, I wonder if that changes your perception of coaching, maybe even dating back to your early stages of coaching and maybe how humble those beginnings were.
One more time, I really didn't get that.
Just with the lucrative contracts and the money that SEC coaches make, I just wonder if that changes your perception of coaching, and maybe even dating back to your early days that were probably more humble.
Well, definitely different than the early days, you know. I think one of the things I was most fortunate is that my father came to me one spring when I was 14 years old and said, "Son, you're not playing baseball this year." And I looked at him, I said, "I'm not?" He said, "No, you're gonna have to work. I'm gonna be able to take care of your sisters, but you're gonna have to earn your own way. So you're working tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, flipping burgers at A&W." And so I took my first job, 1976. I remember it because the Olympics were on that year. And we used to put the old black and white in there and watch the great Olympic boxing team that we had. And then each spring and summer, that's what I did, was worked. And I had some great jobs. I delivered produce. I ran the dock at a dairy. The last year he made me take out the milk truck, so I was a milkman for a year. I took my first job as a graduate assistant at Weber State, and you got your scholarship check, and they certainly have changed a lot since those days and went up for the young men. But, you know, I feel great about it. The fact that my father always told me, reach for the top of the rainbow. You know, you can be as good as you want to be. You can do anything you want in the United States of America. And I think that's really what you see, is that, you know, I've got the opportunity now to coach in the best conference that I believe is the best conference in the country, and I'm very proud of that.
Up this aisle to your left.
Coach, given what you did at Louisville and where that program was when you left, I'm just curious, as you come to Arkansas, if you could compare Arkansas now to what you left at Louisville.
Well, the comparisons would be how we're starting this first season off. You know, when we started off at Louisville, we had a quarterback that hadn't been in the offense, hadn't executed the offense. He hadn't actually played a whole lot. You know, we had a group of running backs that did not play the previous year. You know, and the starter in the Kentucky opener hadn't played in 2 years. So we were very inexperienced in operating that. And I think we might have been voted last in the conference that first year, too. So that would be the comparisons, I think, when you start that off. Obviously, it's a conference in the SEC compared to Conference USA, where each week in and week out, it's much more difficult. You don't have a game where you actually might feel like you step on the field and you have better players than the guys across from you. And I think that's what's going to make it so competitive and such a great challenge.
Coach, yesterday the news came out, Dean Weber, the longtime trainer at Arkansas, was moving to another post. I wonder what your relationship with him was like, and if you have ideas, if you'll have input on who the new trainer might be.
It's been great working with Dean. He knows everything about the university. He was there for 35 years, and you know, it's been fun for me just to talk to him and listen to him and watch him work with our athletes. You know, Dean was excited to be able to step out of the training room and more into administration role. He expressed that to me, you know, 2 weeks into the job when I first got there. So I think it's a great fit for him, certainly something we needed as a university. And we have had some, you know, discussions with trainers coming up, and obviously we need to move very fast. And I know that our athletic director, Jeff Long, is on top of it, and hopefully we'll have someone there before we get started, that's for sure.
We have time for a few more if you have them. Any final questions for Coach? Okay, Coach, thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Well, Bobby Petrino going from Louisville to Atlanta, now to the Arkansas Razorbacks. Let's start there. First of all, the Atlanta Falcons. I always heard that you tell kids if you're going to quit something, finish out the season. and then make up your mind if you don't want to go back. Here's an NFL coach leaves before the season's over. How bizarre is that? And your thoughts on that, Ruck?
Well, it's tough, and that's something that he's going to have to work with for the next couple of years, especially on the recruiting thing. When parents come in and they ask him that question, he's going to have to be smart enough to be like, listen, this is what happened. You know, it might have been a mistake, it might not have been, but I'm here as the Arkansas coach. I'm committed to this program. That's what he's got to do. He's got to make parents feel good about their kids coming to Arkansas, and he's there forever.
Better be a great salesman. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to let these guys know. If I'm him, I'm going to hit it head on and let you know before you even ask the question. This is what happened at Atlanta. This is what happened when I left Louisville. These are the situations. Guys, I'm here just like Mike Rucker said. I'm here. I'm committed to Arkansas. I'm committed to your kid. And let him come here, and I'm going to be here.
All right, Bobby Petrino in his first year at Arkansas. Let's go back to 1977. Now, these are the first year records. Back in 77, Lou Holtz won 11-1, the only coach to hit the double-figure brackets. You see Kenny Hatfield there. Jack Crow, Danny Ford won the national championship at Clemson. 1993, his first year at Arkansas, went 6-4-1. And Houston Nutt 9-3, the SEC Western Division co-champs. That's kind of funny because when you look at Houston Nutt, 8 bowls, 2 Western Division titles, and he came off the triple overtime win over LSU, and bam, he's gone. Is that just a case? I know there was some baggage the year before with the telephone thing going on. But is that a case of the Arkansas boosters and everybody saying, hey, we can do better than this?
Well, at the end of the day, when the boosters, you know, they're putting money into facilities and they feel like they have a strong program, and when you're a coach and you can't get over that hump, well, then that's when you start to hear the backgrounds talking, and that's when you have to make that change, and they felt like this was the time to make that change.
You know, one thing, guys, that really jumps out is the fact that Darren McFadden and Felix Jones are gone. Those guys were great together. But I guess their biggest worries are on the defensive side of the football, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, you start talking about this defense, but one thing that I liked about what he said is that we're going from a man-to-man to a zone-type defense. So now you don't have to have that speed because now you're playing zone, you play an area, opposed to have to match up with this speed wide receiver to wide receiver. And so that way, now you can play smart, okay? You don't have to be as fast, but you can be very smart, and you can take this talent and do a whole lot more with it playing zone opposed to man-to-man defense.
Interesting. I thought guys like you love the man-to-man.
Well, absolutely, but I can run. All right, so I mean, you know, that's the biggest thing right there is that you have to be able to run. You got to have athletes to be able to play that man-to-man defense.
Okay, let's look at the defensive front. You look at these guys again. That's the big key right there. Casey Dick at the quarterback. He's going to be able to throw the ball, but stopping people up in the trenches, that's going to be the big key, right?
Well, Coach said that he likes his offense and defensive line, and I think that's one of their stronger points, especially on defense, because they've lost a lot of the secondary. They're very, very young at the linebackers. So the veterans are going to come from the defensive line, which is going to be the foundation of that defense.
You would hope. Otherwise, the linebackers and the DBs are going to be tired at the end of the SEC season. Make a lot of tackles. Let's take a look at the schedule now in 2008. Western Illinois, Louisiana Monroe. Interesting, they go to Texas on September 13, and then they have back-to-back games, or back-to-back-to-back games with Bama, Florida, and Auburn. So those first 2 games, I guess Bobby Petrino said earlier this summer that it might be a good thing if those 2 games are actually close and not blowouts as far as fine-tuning, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, because you start talking about you coming up against Alabama and guys like that right after that. That's going to be tough for this football team, especially now that you're coming in, you're putting in a whole new offense. Okay, it takes a while to get this spread offense under your belt. Understand, you know, your reads with the quarterback. What is he going to do with the football? So, you know, they got 2 games that they got to get this in before they have to start getting to these top guys, and it's going to be tough for them to get that in quick enough.
No gimmies to close with right there at South Carolina, at Mississippi State. Of course, they went bowling last year. Then they have LSU at home. Here's what you need to know about Arkansas for 2008. The Hogs will try a more balanced offense after finishing 4th in the country running the ball. 112th passing. Casey Dick did throw for 404 in the spring game. 49 passes. I'm sure he's never seen a game where he's thrown it 49 times. Before the spring game, they said they were desperate in the secondary. Not so much now, but what about some of the incoming freshmen to help fill some of those holes? Let's check in with Melissa Knowles and Craig Hubbard on that.
Welcome to SEC Recruiting. I'm Melissa Knowles here with Craig Hubbard. Let's talk about Arkansas. Now, despite coming in late and under some pretty tumultuous circumstances, Coach Bobby Petrino was able to snag 13 of the top 15 prospects in Arkansas. How did he do that?
Well, you know what, Melissa? A lot of people aren't going to want to do this, but you got to tip your hat to Bobby Petrino. His transition from the Falcons to Arkansas was not a smooth one. He was a very vilified man, but you know what? He went in there. He stayed the course. He did a wonderful job recruiting at Arkansas in a short amount of time. Wound up getting 9 players to switch their commitments from other schools and to come to Arkansas. And like you said, keep a lot of key players in state. And one of those was Joe Adams, who was at one time committed to USC. And the Trojans don't lose very many players, so it was a nice job there at getting him. And what's so great about Joe Adams, he's one of those versatile athletes. He can do so many things. He can help now as a running back. He can catch the ball. Maybe one of the best kick returners in this class. He can really help the Arkansas special teams, especially right away. But one of those players, you just want to get the ball in his hands and allow him to create. Now, D'Anthony Curtis, a running back. Now, they're used to having some good running backs there in Arkansas. I'm not going to say he can be or is as good as Darren McFadden, but I will say, folks, he's a player in that mold. He's big. He's also got speed. He can run between the tackles. He can get out to the perimeter and be a home run threat. He's also got good hands to catch out of the backfield. So he's a nice pickup as they try to rebuild that backfield. Jericho Nelson, another player they lured away from Purdue. Wonderful athlete, can play wide receiver. I think he'll start out in the secondary because they need some help there. And let's not forget about Ryan Mallett. One-time Michigan recruit, played there a little bit last year. Because of the offensive change, he wound up transferring. So bright days ahead for Arkansas as he will be their quarterback moving forward, but he has to sit out this year. They did a nice job picking up some wide receivers like Jarius Wright, Greg Childs, Cruz Williams. So they're putting together an offensive system there that could be pretty potent down the road. And then Matt Hall, just want to mention him because he's a 6'10" offensive tackle. That is huge, folks. Almost too tall for football. But let me tell you what, he plays with good leverage.
The Arkansas Razorbacks as the Bobby Petrino era has officially begun in Fayetteville.
We got a good opportunity ahead of us. You know, I think it's going to determine how quickly we come together as a team, how quickly we get production from some of the new guys coming in.
We're a family. I mean, one person, you know, you might be able to stop them, but put everybody together, problems.
Gone to the NFL is the dynamic backfield duo of Darren McFadden and Felix Jones. What will that mean for the Razorback offense?
You'd like to say we're going to run the ball, run the offense through the tailback, but that's not really the case, I don't think, going into this year.
It's a brand new season in Arkansas, and it's a season of change. It's the Arkansas Razorbacks preview special brought to you by FSN, and it starts right now. Welcome to the Arkansas Razorbacks preview special. Here's your host, Dana Larson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 2008 Arkansas Razorbacks preview. I'm your host, Dana Larson, here at the University of Arkansas campus in Fayetteville. Well, it will be a brand new season and a season of change. Roaming the sidelines this year will be a new coach known as one of the most innovative offensive minds in college football. But gone is a pair of running backs taken in the first round of the NFL draft. But before we look ahead to the 2008 season, let's look back at 2007 season in review.
Expectations were high for the Razorbacks entering the 2007 season. After all, they would be led by the premier rushing attack in all of college football, and the preseason Heisman favorite Darren McFadden and another would-be first-round draft pick in Felix Jones. Despite the typical McFadden and Jones rushing performance week in and week out, after 3 games, Arkansas found themselves in a 1-2 hole even before you could say Heisman frontrunner. But a mid-season surge, culminating in a dramatic 50-48 win over the eventual national champion LSU Tigers, sent Arkansas to another New Year's Day bowl. But it was that win that changed the course of Arkansas football forever. Only 3 days after upsetting the Fighting Tigers in Baton Rouge, head coach Houston Nutt announced his resignation from the University of Arkansas. And thus begins the Bobby Petrino era in Fayetteville. It's that same era that lasted only 13 regular season games in Atlanta in the NFL. Out is Houston Nutt, who's a run-oriented coach. In is Bobby Petrino, who's had those offenses that are wide open and they really like to air it out. Now, last year, quarterback Casey Dick would spend most of his time handing off to the Heisman Trophy candidates in Darren McFadden and Felix Jones, and letting all the big trees on the offensive line like Jonathan Lewis and company open those holes up. It was a recipe for great success in the SEC. But what happens to a quarterback when he's used to doing this turn into a guy who does this?
Of course, me and Casey, we came in together. I see a lot of times, just like everybody else who came in with me, you know, we watched each other grow. So I see Casey Dick as a more mature person. At quarterback, he is doing a great job playing quarterback for us. Going against him in spring ball was really kind of frustrating because, you know, he was reading me and I was trying to read him, but there were some times that he was just getting the best of me. And I mean, it was intense, and I'm really proud of Casey, though, to be honest. It makes me smile when I talk about Casey.
Petrino is a proven winner on the college level. In 4 years at Louisville, Petrino lost only 9 times, including a 12-1 record in his final season with the Cardinals, a season that led to an Orange Bowl championship and a season-ending ranking of number 5 in the nation. The Razorbacks are confident he can do the same in Fayetteville.
We're looking to do real big things. We're looking to win a lot of games. We're looking to come closer. If we can't get any closer than what we are as a team, because we are really, really close. But that's really it, just to win games.
While this is considered a rebuilding year for Arkansas, Razorback faithful can rest assured that Petrino will bring Arkansas back to its glorious past. For the Hogs, it's not whether or if the Razorbacks can make it back to the BCS. It's a matter of when.
We got a good opportunity ahead of us. You know, I think it's going to determine how quickly we come together as a team, how quickly we get production from some of the new guys coming in, and how patient we are in the fact that let's let our offensive line and defensive line, you know, help us get better as the year goes on.
Give me the best reason to be optimistic about your team this year.
We're a family. You know, we're a family. I mean, one person, you know, you might be able to stop them, but put everybody together, it's problems. It's problems.
Bobby Petrino made his mark at Louisville, where he took a, quote, basketball school and turned them into a college football powerhouse. He then tried the NFL for 13 games, but quickly realized college football was his true love, specifically here at the University of Arkansas. Recently, our Ray Goodridge sat down with the newest Arkansas head coach.
All right, Coach, dust has settled. You're settled in Fayetteville now. Talk a little bit about what it feels like to be back in the college game and to be the coach at University of Arkansas.
It feels great. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about our team. We came out of spring ball, I think, with a lot of confidence on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball. The young men have worked extremely hard in the offseason and have really taken over a lot of the leadership. So it'll be fun to get started on the 4th and see where we can go.
You talk about Casey grasping this offense. Talk a little bit about what the quarterback's role is in your offense.
Well, first thing he needs to do is take care of the football and make sure that he gets us out of a bad play into a good play. I think he needs to do a good job of utilizing his weapons and being able to get the ball to the good guys in a position to play. But basically, we put a lot on his shoulders to operate at the line of scrimmage to get us from a bad play into a good play.
Same question I had for your quarterbacks, for your running backs. Talk a little bit about what the running back's place is in your offense.
Well, you know, you'd like to say we're going to run the ball, run the offense through the tailback, but But that's not really the case, I don't think, going into this year. I think we have to be able to utilize the different strengths and you know, make sure that they know the tracks they have to take and be able to run the ball inside the tackles. We'll rotate them in, so I think you'll have to keep them fresh, and they'll be a big part of our passing game. You know, I think they always have a tough job because they're responsible for protection, and they also have to run routes and catch the ball out of the backfield. So they have to be a big part of our passing game. Michael Smith came out of spring ball as our starting running back. He's a smaller back that's very quick and very fast. You know, has ran track and done a nice job with his speed. We've got to utilize his different abilities. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can line up and run routes as a receiver. So those are things we look for him to do. We got a couple of young freshmen coming in. DeAnthony Curtis, who, when you watch him on video and you look at the way he moves and all that, he reminds you a lot of a Felix Jones. So we're going to throw him into the fire right away and get him going. He's also a very good returner. The other freshman running back we have coming in that we think can contribute right away is Dennis Johnson. He's very fast. He's been one of the fastest guys in the 100 meters in the state of Texas. Great athlete, can really catch the ball. And we just have to make sure we don't overwhelm them with asking them to do too much. We might need to keep our packages small for some of the freshmen early in the year so that they can contribute right away.
One question on your defense. Do you like what you're seeing over there? Because I know we talked to some of your linebackers, and they seem pretty locked in already.
Yeah, I really like what we've seen from our defense. Our front five, our front four are going to be real good. We got linebackers that were very thin there, but the three guys that came out of spring ball are doing a real nice job. And you talk to Elston Forte, and you know, he's a guy that's really taken over the leadership of the defense. He can play both outside linebacker spots, does a great job of rushing the passer. So we're going to count on him to get that front seven aligned and doing things right.
Looking at the SEC West, the way it shapes up this year, it may be good having NFL experience because you're playing almost NFL caliber teams in the SEC West. Talk a little bit about your schedule and your competition this year.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and I think that was one of the greatest challenges about coming into the conference is you knew week in and week out that you were going to have to line up and play to your best. I think that's the challenge, is to be consistent, physically be consistent each week, mentally be consistent each week, and try to balance your emotions and so that you don't have any ups and downs and lose a game or two that you shouldn't.
We can sit and break this team down all day, and I think bottom line is, Coach, people want to know from you how good you think this team can be.
We got a good opportunity ahead of us. You know, I think it's going to determine how quickly we come together as a team, how quickly we get production from some of the new guys coming in, and how patient we are in the fact that let's let our offensive line and defensive line, you know, help us get better as the year goes on.
In the 90s, Bobby Petrino was the offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. His head coach, Tom Coughlin. Coughlin once called Petrino the best play caller he'd ever been around. In 2007, the Razorbacks had the most prolific rushing attack in the nation, totaling more than 3,500 yards and averaging 300 a game. But with the departure of Darren McFadden and Felix Jones to the NFL and the addition of pass-oriented head coach Bobby Petrino, the big question is, what can Razorback fans expect on the ground in 2008?
Over the last decade under head coach Houston Nutt, the Arkansas Razorbacks have been one of the premier rushing teams in all of college football. Last season, Darren McFadden won his second consecutive Doak Walker Award, given to the nation's top running back, and finished second in the race for the Heisman Trophy. Felix Jones was more than just a complimentary running back. He finished fourth in the SEC in rushing with over 1,100 yards. Yet, the passing attack was ranked near the bottom in the nation. Should Arkansas find success in the SEC, the key this year might be balance.
We'd like to say we're going to run the ball, run the offense through the tailback, but that's not really the case, I don't think, going into this year. I think we have to be able to utilize the different strengths and you know, make sure that they know the tracks they have to take and be able to run the ball inside the tackles. We'll rotate them in, so I think you'll have to keep them fresh, and they'll be a big part of our passing game. You know, I think they always have a tough job because they're responsible for protection, and they also have to run routes and catch the ball out of the backfield. So they have to be a big part of our passing game.
After 10 years, Houston Nutt is out, and the pass-oriented Bobby Petrino era has officially begun. The high-flying Petrino aerial assault catapulted Louisville into the upper echelon of college football and sent them to their first ever BCS bowl game. If the spring game was any indicator of the season, the Petrino offense will be just as successful in Fayetteville as it was in Louisville.
Last December, when Bobby Petrino was hired to replace Houston Nutt, it was met with high praise by the Razorback fans here in Fayetteville. But how about the SEC experts? For that, we hand it off to Tom Wormy and Tony Barnhart of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution to analyze his hiring and preview the upcoming season.
A big change at head coach for the Hogs. Welcome to the bottom line on Arkansas football. Tom Wormy, along with Tony Barnhart from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And Tony, an interesting situation because Arkansas has a brand new coach, but he is well traveled. Third job in 3 years for Bobby Petrino. Did not complete the season with the Falcons, but he is the new man for Arkansas.
I tell you, is this a great country or what? I'm telling you, Bobby Petrino is coaching the Atlanta Falcons at one afternoon. He walks in, resigns, and at 11:30 that night, he is in Fayetteville, Arkansas, calling the Hogs as a new head coach at Arkansas. And I think we're all anxious, Tom, to see what is Arkansas going to look like under Bobby Petrino.
I know Arkansas fans are excited about having Bobby Petrino, but I have to question the situation a little bit. Now, how do the players, you think, going to view this when they see a guy come from the NFL, does not complete the season with his NFL team, and now he's trying to instill his system with them? How do you think they view the whole thing?
Well, I think, and I went to Arkansas when Bobby Petrino got the job, and I talked to the players, and be honest with you, Tom, they just want to win. Okay, they underwent a lot of criticism last year with Houston Nutt making his departure, and they think that Bobby Petrino gives them the best chance to win. I think it's going to take some time. In the short term, I don't see Arkansas winning a lot of games.
Especially because they lost 3 key running backs, not to mention McFadden and Jones combining for over 3,000 yards during the course of their careers in 07, along with Peyton Hillis as well.
When you put those 3 guys together, you're talking about, you know, basically 80 to 90% of the offense, and they don't have anybody like that to replace that kind of yardage and that kind of production. Bobby Petrino's offense, Tom, as you know, is really quarterback-centered. Casey Dick is a veteran quarterback. The learning curve is steep. There's just a lot of issues on that offense.
Yeah, Casey Dick is a guy who threw for over 1,600 yards last year, 18 TDs. But does he acclimate well to the system Petrino's going to come in with?
Well, I think it's going to take time. Even really good quarterbacks I've seen over the years have had a tough time with Petrino's offense. But once they master it, and we saw this at Louisville, once they master it, they're pretty good at it. But I'm anxious to see. Casey Dick has sort of had an